How privileged I am because 2 weeks in a row, Mike Tadurich of the Golf Show heard every Saturday. Take two. Long day, man.
You do that too, huh? Okay.
There we go. How lucky am I to be back here at CBS Radio World Headquarters in Greentree early on a Saturday morning before he goes on the air at 7 with a very popular golf show. I got him back again with your Pratte Pack, Mike Tadurich. Big show coming up later with him. We'll tell you about that in just a moment as we continue to count down to the U.S. Open. But it is the Dean and DeLuca Invitational at the Colonial, of course, this weekend in Texas. And weather yesterday kind of slowed things down a little bit, and Bryce Mulder is leading through 15 at 9 under, but Webb Simpson and Jordan Spieth both did finish, and they're in the hunt. Simpson is at 8 under, while Jordan Spieth, after that 66, is at 7 under. So where do you kind of find his game right now as the Texan is working his way back and hopefully will have a strong showing at the U.S. Open, Mike?
Well, people who saw him yesterday and watched him play said he was hitting the ball kind of the way he hit it last year.
Okay.
Not the way he's hit it most of this year, because he really hasn't had his A game yet. And if he'd had that at Augusta, he'd have won that going away. But he hit the ball well. He hit it off the tee, kept it in play, and he putted like Jordan Spieth does, which is really good.
Really
so
good.
I would, if I'm Bryce Mulder, I'm very concerned about who's behind me today.
Golf Channel right here on the Big HD. Arnold Palmer, part of that wonderful place that you're from, Latrobe. How much has this meant to the game of golf? Golf Channel.
Oh, it's revolutionized it just like Palmer did in the 60s. But I mean, you know, all you got to do is look at don't even have to watch all the time. Just look at their channel lineup. You know,
It's
it's
good.
amazing. The stuff that's on there, things we didn't even know about, events and you know, with all the programming that they produce, the lessons and the feature stories. You know, they've done the series with Arnold. They've done a story with Jack, and they'll continue to do that. It's turned the game 180 degrees.
Yeah, they were showing some of the play from yesterday at the Colonial, breaking down some of the shots and body stances and out of the bunker and clubs and caddies, you know, communicating back and forth with players. It's incredible.
Sometimes, though, it gets to the point where there's so much that it kind of gives you a headache.
Overload.
Yeah, I mean, it's just too much information. It's kind of like reading the magazines now that are still around. I can't sit and read 80 pages of try this if you can't play sand shots. How to get 20 more yards from your drives. I can't read that all day.
You think most of the game of golf, for people that are good, no matter how much they say, you know, the hitting coach or their club, it's just natural ability, God-given ability?
That's the biggest majority of it, sure. If you don't have it, yeah, you can get lessons and get better, but you're never going to be an elite guy.
I'll tell you one thing that I'm seeing also Rocco Media at the Senior PGA Championship. And when he's on, he's on. Greensburg made a 14 under. Gene Sowers 10 under. Bernard Longer and Colin Montgomery, both of them guys I saw play at the beautiful Fox Chapel Club when the Constellation Tour was there a couple of years ago. They're at 9 under. Rocco, is he going to get one of these things?
From nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, he's done very little over the last couple of years. I'm assuming he's been hurt. But like you said, when he gets in that slot, then he can go. Now, whether he can play 4 rounds, I don't know. We'll see. But he's playing very well right now.
All right, your show is incredible. Folks, believe me, if I wasn't on the radio, I would be listening, and we share some snippets from time to time on the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday show, especially getting close to the U.S. Open. But this guy's going to give you some facts on how long Mr. Zimmer and Devin Gee and Bob Ford and everyone has been working to put on the show of shows coming up June 13th. This has been going on for a while, huh?
They start work of some sort 2 years out.
Wow.
Which is pretty hard to believe, but it takes that long. It is so big now. All the infrastructure is just massive. They started putting up frames and things like that for the hospitality suites in the fall, late in the fall. Mm-hmm. And mid-March, they started actually constructing them. Now they're doing the final things. They're putting up the massive bleachers behind 18. Most of the tents are up, most of the suites are up. Now it's just kind of putting the final touches on.
I tell you, a day like today, you could use some Golden Bear Jack Nicholas ice cream. It's going to be a scorcher, folks. You know, I remember being there. Was it 95? Four? How hot it was that day I was there, and watching these guys. And I've talked to you about this before. The Memorial begins next week, Jack Nicklaus's tournament. How do you think those guys and these women and men today have the ability to fight off the weather? I mean, I mean, how do they do that for hours upon hours? I mean, I guess your body gets accustomed to it, but hydration, and you got to listen to your, you know, your doc and what have you. But if you don't think these people are athletes, there's something wrong.
Well, they don't, like we do, go grab a hot dog before they go out
Yeah,
and play
right.
on the first tee.
Right.
You know, because you just can't, you have to watch what you eat, not only right before you go out, but the day before. But they've been doing this since they were teenagers and before. So it has to get really, really hot for them to start complaining. They're just used to it.
You know, I was checking out Jack's Facebook page, and he does so much charity. He was at a hospital in Miami recently, and obviously they were flashing back to one of his memorial victories in the 80s. Tell me about that tournament and how it's really become one of the shining weeks on the PGA Tour and in Muirfield, Ohio. Tell me about this course and his tournament.
It is one of the elite places that they play on tour. He made it that way. You won't find a blade of grass out of place there. They got people walking around all the time picking up trash. But the course itself, it's a Jack Nicklaus course. It's designed how Jack liked to play. A lot of dogleg rights, so he could play a little fade. But he patterned it somewhat after Augusta. And he has a little British Open kind of background to it as well. It's a spectacular place, and he's always doing something to make it better.
I saw something briefly about him recently, or maybe a few months ago at Augusta. He had a pretty good round there. You know, you have to think the longevity that he had. Why do you think guys like him, and there's always the few that can punch through in their 40s, and Phil Mickelson's done it and win a major. What separates those from the rest of the pack? What do you think?
Mental toughness.
Really?
Yep. And obviously they have to be good physically. They can't start breaking down like Tiger has done. You know, he won't do much in his 40s. But these guys are, think about it. How many times did we ever hear about Jack Nicklaus being hurt?
You know, it's funny. You were so ahead of the curve. Faraday, who I absolutely love, he too, like you said to me weeks ago, he's not sure if Tiger will ever come back. Well, he's not at the Memorial. We know that.
I mean, the longer this goes on, you know, we may not see him till next year, if we see him. And the thing is, in the media, I admit, we're a cynical bunch. There's no doubt about that. There's some thinking out there now that the reason he's dragging this out is to keep his sponsors. Because if he says, I'm done for the year, then the sponsors will bail. And he's trying to keep him hanging on as long as he can. And that's why he won't say he's done.
And I'm not the golfer, and I'm not the expert. You are. But I have to believe in anything. The longer you stay away, then you start to think about what you were doing that came so natural for so long, and then you start to disbelieve that you really have what it takes to get back in the game. So the longer he's out, the more he's going to hurt himself, not just physically, but between the ears.
He's in a bad place. I'm convinced. And he's in a bad place physically, and he's in a bad place mentally. He can't even be thinking anymore about majors. He's got to be thinking about playing 4 rounds and trying to survive to play 4 rounds. It might be a couple years, if he's able to come back, that he'll be able to start thinking about competing and being a factor again, because he won't be. And I'm really glad that the indication is he's not coming to Oakmont. And I said he wouldn't a ways back. All he's going to do if he comes to Oakmont, he'll be a distraction to the young guys who we think are going to put on a big show there.
Right.
And he could do himself serious harm there.
One other play I want to ask you about, and I know you got to get ready to go on the air, so I'm going to let you go, but I want to talk about your show today. Coming up at 7:93.7, The Fan, the Golf Show, Mike Dudurich. Patrick Reed, I know he's in the hunt. A friend of mine, James Brooks, actually taught him for a while. Tell me about this kid.
He's a bulldog. He's relentless. He can play. I mean, he showed last year, 2 years ago in the Ryder Cup. He was one of the ones who didn't go south. Mm-hmm. He hung in and competed the whole time. Now, he has some anger issues. He has problems. When he gets mad, he goes off the tracks. But the guy can play. He's young and he's learning. And of course, he created all kinds of headlines a few years ago when he won the Doral tournament and declared himself a top 5 player in the world.
That's nice to do, isn't it?
And he wasn't even a top 55 player in the world at that point. He just caught fire and he won that week. He's another one. He's kind of on the outside of that circle of the great young players, but he's definitely capable.
So what do you think about Sergio?
Well, that was nice that he won. You know, he needed something like
Right.
that, but that doesn't change my mind.
Okay.
He gets
I
to
tried.
Oakmont. Yeah, I know. He gets to Oakmont, and he'll do the same like he always has.
Okay. Your show today, Charles Howe. He is the USGA operations manager. Tell me about this guy.
Oh, he's a quiet guy, but boy, he knows his stuff. He's been overseeing getting this place together, and he's coming down the final days now. And like I said, all they're doing is putting the I's on, the dots on the I's and crossing the T's, just to make sure it's going to be ready in 2 weeks.
Listen, there's a lot of good golf in the month of June in Pennsylvania, and you brought to my attention in Johnstown the Sunny Hannah, and you've got the co-chairman, who is John Yerger, going to be on the program, right?
Yep, they have been doing, this will be the 63rd Sunny Hannah Amateur.
Wow.
And they've had, I think, 37 PGA Tour pros who have won played at the Sunny Hannah Amateur.
You really a writer, one of the best for years. I think of you and Jerry Dulac and others who really have cornered the game of golf. Can people read your stuff? Do you blog or do you do anything like that at all?
I write for a couple of newspapers. Unfortunately, they're both pay subscription newspapers,
Right.
so you can't there. But I write for the West Bend Golf Association.
Well, but they can pay if they want to.
Say sure.
What are they?
And, the Latrobe Bulletin and the Uniontown Herald Standard.
Oh, good.
And for the Open, I'm going to be writing a column for the Beaver County Times.
My paper.
That's your paper.
I get to read you for free.
But like I said, I do stuff for the West Bend Golf Association all the time on their website. So
How did you get Mike Byers off that beat? Why is he covering pit football or something?
I don't know. I don't know what he's going to be doing, but
That's
they
great.
contacted me and asked me if
That's
I
a
do
coup.
it.
That's a coup for them. We're happy to have you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
The great Mike Tadurich. Don't miss this show. It is every Saturday, 7 to 8 golf show. Anything else you want to tell them about that show? Can they phone in?
They can.
Do you?
Yep.
Okay.
412-928-9370.
All right. So if you're,
9370.
if you're heading out to one of your courses, one of these days we're going to have to do what you think are your top 5 or top 10 courses. There's a lot of nice courses around here.
Here?
Yeah.
We are so fortunate, and I don't know that people get that. We have great golf courses here.
Especially in Latrobe. That area is beautiful up there.
Got some nice places.
It is. All right. Great guy. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
I'm sorry I kept you so long.
That's okay.